Let's be honest, we've all had that moment where we're scrolling through LinkedIn or Instagram and we see that one person from high school. You know the one. They weren't particularly smart, they didn't have a visionary bone in their body, and frankly, they were kind of boring. But then you see it. They just bought a house in a great neighborhood. They're taking a 3-week vacation to Italy. They aren't stressed. And you're sitting there with your high-level degree and your disruptive side hustle, wondering, how did they do that? Because here's the thing, while you were busy trying to find the next big thing or waiting for the perfect moment to get in on a volatile tech stock, that boring person was just following a checklist. They weren't trying to be geniuses, they were just being consistent. And in the world of finance, consistency doesn't just beat genius, it absolutely obliterates it. My name is Prime, and I spend way too much time thinking about the math behind why some people win at the money game while everyone else is just running on a treadmill. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right, but your bank account isn't reflecting your effort, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Today, we're going to look at the real math, the cold hard numbers of why the boring path is actually the fastest way to get rich. We're going to talk about the genius trap, the psychological reason why we hate being consistent, and I'm going to show you exactly how much money you're leaving on the table by trying to be clever. The genius trap. Look, we've been lied to. We've been told that to get wealthy, you need to be a maverick. You need to time the market, pick the right crypto at the right time, or start a multi-million-dollar company. But here's what most people don't realize. Complexity is often a hedge for a lack of discipline. When you try to be a financial genius, you introduce variables, and every time you add a variable, like timing the bottom or picking a winner, you increase your probability of failure. The boring person, they only have one variable, time. Let's look at a shocking statistic. According to the S&P Dow Jones Indices report, over a 15-year period, nearly 90% of professional fund managers, people who get paid millions to be geniuses, failed to beat the boring old S&P 500. Think about that. These are guys with Ivy League degrees and supercomputers. If they can't be geniuses consistently, what makes you think you can do it on your lunch break? The math, the tale of two investors. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at two people, Clever Chris and Boring Bob. Clever Chris is smart. He's always looking for an edge. He waits for market dips to invest his $1,000 a month. Sometimes he waits 6 months because he thinks the market is overvalued. When he does invest, he picks high-growth stocks. Let's be generous and say that when he's in the market, he earns a 12% return. But because he's often sitting on cash waiting for the perfect entry, his money is only working for him 70% of the time. Boring Bob is, well, boring. He doesn't check the news, he has an automated transfer. Every month, rain or shine, he puts $1,000 into a low-cost index fund. He gets the market average of roughly 10%. You'd think Chris wins, right? He's getting 12%. Wrong, because Chris missed the best days of the market while waiting on the sidelines. His effective return drops significantly. According to J.P. Morgan Asset Management, if you invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 from 2003 to 2022, you'd have about $64,000. But if you missed just the 10 best days in those 20 years, your return is cut in half. You're left with $29,000. Boring Bob doesn't miss those days. He's always there. After 30 years, Clever Chris, accounting for his cash drag and missed days, about $800,000. Boring Bob, 10% consistent, is about $2.26 million. Bob is nearly 3 times richer because he was too boring to try and outsmart the system. The psychology. Why we hate being boring. Now, you might be thinking, Prime, if the math is this simple, why doesn't everyone do it? Because it's psychologically painful. Humans are wired for dopamine hits. Buying a stock and seeing it go up 20% in a week feels like winning at the casino. It's a rush. Setting up an automated transfer to a Vanguard total stock market feels like doing laundry. It's a chore. We also have a superiority bias. We all think we're above average drivers, and we all think we're above average investors. To be boring is to admit that you're okay with average returns. But here's the secret. Average returns, compounded over an above-average amount of time, lead to extraordinary wealth. Most people want the quantum leap. They want the one trade that changes their life. But wealth isn't a leap. It's a staircase. If you try to jump 10 steps at once, you might make it, or you might fall and break your neck. The boring person just takes one step every single day.
The cost of waiting revelation. This is the part that usually blows people's minds. Most people think, I'll start being consistent once I have more money. Let's look at early Emily and late Larry. Early Emily starts at age 25. She puts $500 a month into her boring account. She does this for only 10 years, then stops completely at age 35. She never adds another dime. She just lets it sit there until she's 65. Late Larry waits until he's 35 to start. He realizes he's behind, so he puts in $500 a month every single month for 30 years until he's 65. Emily invested $60,000 total. Larry invested $180,000 total. Who has more? At a 10% return, early Emily ends up with $1.1 million. Late Larry ends up with about $1.04 million. Emily is richer than Larry, despite investing $120,000 less than him, simply because she started being boring 10 years earlier. Consistency in your 20s is a superpower that no amount of genius in your 40s can replicate. Okay, so how do you actually implement this? It's not about being smarter, it's about building a system that doesn't require you to be smart. 1. The 24-hour rule. Stop making impulse investments based on a YouTube video, ironic, I know, or a news headline. If you want to buy a specific stock, wait 24 hours. Usually the genius urge fades. 2. Automate your boring. If you have to think about investing every month, you've already lost. Set up a direct deposit from your paycheck to your brokerage. It should happen before you even see the money. 3. The gap strategy. Focus 100% of your mental energy on widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Don't spend energy trying to get an extra 1% on your return. Spend it trying to save an extra $200 to put into the boring fund. 4. Ignore the noise. If the market drops 20%, Boring Bob does nothing. He actually celebrates because his $1,000 buys more shares this month. The conclusion. Look, I get it. We all want to be the hero of our own financial movie. We want the big win. But the boring people, they're not looking for a movie. They're looking for freedom. Wealth isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the person who can endure the most boredom. It's about doing the same simple thing 300 times in a row while everyone else is chasing shadows. If you start today, not tomorrow, not when the market settles, but today, the math is on your side. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to show up. Would you like me to create a specific boring portfolio breakdown for different age groups in the next video? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.